Similarly, when we are developing a model, how we go step by step procedure. What is the way we develop a model, or any manager will develop a model? So first of all, a manager to develop a model, he has to identify the decision problem of a real world, where he is working in a company or for an organization, what kind of problem he is faced with or confronted with. That should be a real life problem. So once a problem is identified, then the next step is to identify the parameters of that particular problem, and also the kind of variables, the various kinds of variables those are associated with the problem. That is also that is the next step after identifying the problem. Then not only simply, there might be several variables that are there, as we were discussing earlier, characteristics of a good model. Not all the variables may have to be taken into consideration, but the variables which are important, those we have to identify, and we have to keep them as part of the solution. Then when several variables are there, then naturally we should try to establish some kind of relationship among those variables. So of course variables will have some kind of relationship that has to be identified and established. What happens if there is a change in a particular variable on the impact on the other variables, or if there is a change in other variables, what is that? Like we call that as simply like sensitivity analysis. This is what we need to do. Then after identifying the variables, we try to convert that into some mathematical equations or some model or some statistical method or some steps as part of that, how we are going to solve that problem using them. Then after developing, now the model is ready, then this has to be applied to real life problem. A real life problem or to the organization in the context where the model is developed, that has to be applied. After application or after using that model in real life situation, we are testing that. That means what is the kind of outcome we are going to get, whether that outcome is really giving the expected kind of results, which we call that as validation. So we have to test this model as well as we have to validate model. When we are saying validating the model means whether we can again or further use this model to get the right kind of solution, or if that doesn't happen, then we may have to revise. So after applying that problem, we found that it is not giving the kind of results that were expected, or the kind of results are not delivered. Then probably we might have overemphasized on certain variables, or we might have underemphasized, or we might have left out with some variables, or we might have included variables which are not really necessary or which can make a lot of impact on the solution. All these things that have to be taken into consideration, and we have to revise the model. It is not a one-time kind of thing, but we may have to do it again and again, and those kind of models should be developed. It takes time and effort, but a manager has to do that in order to get the right kind of decision.